The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with barely contained laughter as Ambassador Kate stood at the presentation podium, her simple Earth-standard tablet looking primitive against the holographic displays surrounding her. The crystalline beings of Nexus Prime flickered with amusement, their translucent forms pulsing with what could only be described as mirth. The reptilian delegates from Corvin hissed softly, their equivalent of chuckling. So this is what the humans call advanced technology? Ambassador Vex of the Hegemony Coalition gestured dismissively at Kate's modest display. Chemical propulsion? Electromagnetic radiation weapons? How quaint. Kate maintained her composure, though her knuckles whitened as she gripped the podium. 3 months of preparation, 3 months of begging Earth's military command to let her showcase their capabilities. And this was the reception she received. The human delegation had been granted exactly 15 minutes to present their case for membership in the Galactic Defense Network, a formality, really, since everyone knew Earth would be relegated to the Outer Rim colonies, far from any real action. If I may continue, Kate said, her voice steady despite the murmurs of derision filling the chamber. Our quantum fusion artillery represents a breakthrough in quantum fusion. The melodic voice of High Arbiter Lyra cut through the air like a bell. The ethereal being's form shimmered with what Kate had learned to recognize as skepticism. Impossible. Our greatest scientists have theorized about such technology for millennia. A species that discovered fire merely 50,000 years ago could hardly, actually, Kate interrupted, surprising herself with her boldness. We've achieved stable quantum fusion reactions at room temperature. The applications for both energy generation and defensive capabilities are. The chamber erupted in what could generously be called polite laughter. Ambassador Vex's three-eyed visage twisted into something resembling a smile. My dear human, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but perhaps stick to what your species does best. Agriculture, perhaps. Basic manufacturing? Kate felt her heart sink, but then she remembered the faces of the engineers back on Earth. Tom, who had worked 18-hour days for 2 years straight to crack the quantum containment equations. Lisa, who had nearly lost her sight perfecting the fusion chamber design. They had believed in this technology when everyone else called them dreamers. The moment crystallized in her mind, not just for her career, but for humanity's future among the stars. She thought of her daughter back home, who would grow up either as a citizen of the galaxy or as a forgotten resident of a backwater world. The choice was hers to make right here, right now. Every great bond starts with a single moment of courage. HFY Chronicle Stories is just beginning, and your support matters. If you love emotional sci-fi tales, forbidden connections, and stories that stay with you, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring more stories from the stars to you. Taking a deep breath, Kate straightened her shoulders. One propose. A demonstration. The laughter died instantly. High Arbiter Lyra's form brightened with interest. A demonstration? Our ships are currently stationed at the edge of the system. Give us a target, any target you consider sufficiently challenging, and we'll show you exactly what human technology can accomplish. Ambassador Vex leaned forward, his scaled features gleaming under the chamber's lights. Very well, human. There's an abandoned fortress world in the Keth system. It was built by the ancient precursors. Their quantum shielding has never been breached by any known weapon. If your quantum fusion artillery can so much as scratch its surface, we'll consider your application seriously. Kate nodded, her pulse racing. She activated her communication device, sending a single coded message to the human fleet. Demonstration approved. Target, Keth Fortress World. Authorization, Prometheus. As she looked around the chamber at the expectant, mocking faces of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, Kate allowed herself a small smile. They had no idea what was coming. Captain Rex Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, studying the tactical display with the calm focus that had earned him command of humanity's first interstellar warship. The Keth fortress world hung before them like a dark jewel, its surface bristling with the geometric patterns that marked precursor architecture. Ancient quantum shields shimmered around the planet like aurora light, beautiful and supposedly impenetrable. "Sir, we're receiving full sensor data from the advanced scouts," reported Lieutenant Cole from the navigation station. "The fortress world's shields are operating at 97% efficiency after all these millennia. Whatever the precursors built this thing from, it's holding up remarkably well." Rex nodded, his eyes never leaving the display. Around him, his crew worked with the quiet efficiency that came from months of drilling. They were the best Earth had to offer veterans of the Luna conflicts, graduates of the accelerated space warfare program, and volunteers who had left everything behind for a chance to prove humanity belonged among the stars. "Engineering report, Tom." Rex called to his chief engineer. Tom's voice crackled over the com from deep within the ship's core. "Quantum fusion chambers are stable and ready, Captain. We've got full power distribution to all artillery arrays. The containment fields are holding steady at optimal parameters." Rex allowed himself a moment of pride. The Prometheus wasn't the largest ship in the fleet, but she was the most advanced vessel humanity had ever constructed. Her quantum fusion cores could power a small city, and her artillery arrays represented the culmination of decades of theoretical physics made manifest. Every system had been tested and retested, but this would be their first real combat demonstration. "Tactical analysis, Lisa." Rex turned to his weapons officer, a woman whose reputation for precision had made her legendary in the Earth Defense Forces. "Sir, conventional weapons would require approximately 72 hours of sustained bombardment to even begin degrading those shields," Lisa reported, her fingers dancing across her control interface. "The precursor quantum barriers are designed to absorb and redistribute energy across the entire planetary surface. It's actually quite elegant. Any attack just makes the shield stronger." "And our approach?" Lisa's smile was predatory. "Quantum fusion artillery doesn't just deliver energy, sir. It delivers contradictory quantum states. The shields can't absorb what they can't understand. It's like trying to catch lightning with a butterfly net made of mathematics." Rex felt the familiar pre-combat calm settle over him. This was the moment that would define not just their mission, but humanity's place in the galaxy. Win or lose, there would be no going back after today. "All stations prepare for quantum fusion artillery deployment." Set condition read throughout the ship. The bridge lighting shifted to the familiar crimson glow of battle stations. "Lieutenant Cole, bring us to optimal firing position. Full power to forward shields." "Aye, sir." Moving to attack position, the Prometheus glided forward with deceptive grace, her engines barely whispering as she closed the distance to the fortress world. Rex could feel the eyes of the galaxy upon them. The Galactic Council's observers were monitoring every detail of this engagement, ready to dismiss humanity's claims with scientific precision. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Council." "Observation ships," reported Communications Officer Nina. "They're requesting we begin the demonstration within the next 10 minutes, or they'll consider it a forfeit." Rex checked his chronometer. The timing was perfect. They'd calculated this. Engagement down to the second. "Acknowledge the transmission. Inform them that the demonstration will begin in exactly 9 minutes and 30 seconds. He looked around his bridge crew, seeing determination reflected in every face. These weren't just soldiers. They were pioneers, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire species on their shoulders. "Remember, everyone, we're not just fighting for military credentials today. We're fighting for humanity's right to stand as equals among the stars. Tom, Lisa, Cole, Nina, you've all sacrificed everything to get us here. Let's make it count." The fortress world loomed larger on the screen, its ancient mysteries about to meet humanity's newest revelation. Rex placed his hand on the firing control, feeling the slight vibration of contained quantum forces waiting to be unleashed. The quantum fusion chambers deep within the Prometheus hummed with barely contained power as Tom made his final adjustments to the energy distribution matrix. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the controlled environment of the engineering section. 2 years of theoretical work, 8 months of practical application, and countless sleepless nights had led to this moment. "Tom, I need confirmation." "On chamber stability," Captain Martinez's voice echoed through the engineering bay. "All chambers showing green across the board, Captain," Tom replied, his hands moving instinctively across the control interface. "Quantum containment fields are holding at optimal resonance. We're ready to make history." On the bridge, Lisa fine-tuned the targeting parameters one final time. The fortress world's quantum shields pulsed with ancient energy, their patterns seemingly random but following mathematical principles that had taken Earth's brightest physicists months to decode. The precursors had been brilliant, but they had designed their defenses against conventional energy weapons. "Captain, I have target lock on the primary shield generator," Lisa reported. "Quantum fusion artillery is charged and ready. Estimated time to shield penetration, 37 seconds. Rex felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on him. Through the view screen, he could see the running lights of the Council. Observer ships, positioned at what they considered a safe distance. They expected a light show some impressive but ultimately futile display of human determination. They had no concept of what was about to unfold. "All hands, this is the captain," Rex announced over the ship-wide comm system. "In 30 seconds, we're going to show the galaxy what human ingenuity can accomplish. Remember this moment, your children will ask you about it someday." The countdown began. Rex could hear the subtle shift in the ship's harmonics as the quantum fusion chambers reached full resonance. The very air seemed to vibrate with potential energy. 10 seconds to firing," Lisa announced. Rex's finger hovered over the final authorization control. One press, and there would be no turning back. Success would elevate humanity to the ranks of the galaxy's elite powers. Failure would consign them to permanent second-class status. 5, 4.3, .2.1, fire. The Prometheus shuddered as the quantum fusion artillery discharged. What emerged from the weapon arrays wasn't the brilliant beam of energy the observers expected. It was something far more subtle and infinitely more destructive. Waves of contradictory quantum states rippled through spacetime itself, carrying with them the fundamental forces that bound matter together. The fortress world's shields flared brilliantly as they attempted to absorb the incoming energy. There, quantum barriers redistributing power across the planetary surface, exactly as designed. For a moment, it seemed as though the ancient defenses would hold. Then reality began to unravel. The contradictory quantum states struck the shield matrix like a virus in a computer system. The barriers that had withstood 10,000 years cosmic bombardment suddenly couldn't decide whether they existed or not. Quantum uncertainty cascaded through the entire network, creating feedback loops that the precursor designers had never anticipated. "Direct hit," Lisa reported, her voice tight with excitement. "Shield matrix is destabilizing across all frequency bands. The quantum uncertainty is propagating through their entire defensive grid." On the Council observer ships, alarms began to sound. The impossible was happening. The fortress world's shields weren't just failing. They were collapsing in ways that violated everything the galaxy's greatest scientists thought they knew about defensive technology. Shield collapse in 3.2.1. The ancient barriers that had protected the fortress world since before most of the Council species had achieved spaceflight simply ceased to exist. Where there had been impenetrable quantum walls, there was now empty space. The fortress world hung naked and vulnerable, its surface exposed for the first time in millennia. But the demonstration wasn't over. Secondary target acquired, Lisa announced. Firing quantum fusion artillery at the fortress structure itself. This time, the weapon's effects were visible to the naked eye. The quantum fusion blast struck the fortress world's surface and began converting matter directly into energy at the quantum level. Ancient precursor metal, harder than diamond and more durable than any known material, simply dissolved into its component particles. A crater 300 kilometers wide appeared on the fortress world's surface, perfectly circular and absolutely smooth. The demonstration had lasted exactly 93 seconds. In the council chamber, the silence was deafening. Ambassador Kate watched the holographic display with barely concealed satisfaction as the council delegates stared in stunned silence at the smoking crater where a piece of the fortress world had simply ceased to exist. The impossible had become reality in the span of less than 2 minutes, and the implications were rippling through the assembled representatives like seismic waves. High Arbiter Lyra's ethereal form flickered rapidly, a sign of deep agitation among her species. This is unprecedented. The precursor fortress worlds have been considered indestructible for over 50,000 years. Our greatest weapons barely scratched their surfaces. Ambassador Vex of the Hegemony Coalition had gone completely silent, his 3 eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the perfectly circular crater. His scaled features had shifted from their earlier expression of smug superiority to something approaching terror. Perhaps, Kate said quietly, we could continue our presentation now? The chamber remained silent except for the soft humming of various species translation devices working overtime to process languages that suddenly seemed inadequate for describing what they had witnessed. Commander Zane of the Stellar Republic was the first to find his voice. The energy requirements alone. How do you achieve stable quantum fusion without destroying your own vessels? Our models show it should be impossible to contain such reactions outside of stellar cores. Kate activated her tablet again, displaying technical specifications that had seemed laughably primitive just minutes before. The key breakthrough was understanding that quantum states don't need to be contained. They need to be convinced to cooperate. Our scientists approach the problem not as engineers, but as negotiators. Negotiators? High Arbiter Lyra's form brightened with intense curiosity. Every quantum particle exists in multiple states simultaneously until observed. Instead of forcing them into a single configuration, we learn to create collaborative quantum frameworks. The particles choose their own states, but within parameters that serve our purposes. It's not control, it's partnership. Ambassador Vex finally spoke, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. You've weaponized quantum uncertainty itself. We've weaponized cooperation, Kate corrected gently. The same principle applies to our energy generation, our computing systems, and our faster-than-light communication arrays. Humans have always been good at working together, even when logic suggests it shouldn't be possible. The implications hung in the air like a challenge. Every species in the Council had approached advanced technology through dominance-controlling forces, containing energies, imposing order on chaos. Humanity had succeeded by embracing the chaos and finding harmony within it. There are applications, Kate continued, warming to her subject now that she had their complete attention. Medical quantum therapy that negotiates with diseased cells to heal themselves. Agricultural quantum enhancement that convinces crops to grow in hostile environments. Even quantum psychology therapeutic techniques that help traumatized minds find their own paths to healing. The crystalline beings of Nexus Prime chimed softly among themselves, their forms resonating with frequencies that suggested deep contemplation. Finally, their spokesperson crystallized into a more solid configuration. Ambassador Kate, your species has achieved in decades what we have pursued for millennia. How? Kate smiled, thinking of Tom working 18-hour days in his laboratory. Of Lisa perfecting targeting systems while fighting chronic pain from old injuries. Of Captain Martinez leading by example rather than authority. We stopped trying to conquer the universe and started trying to understand it. We realized that the most powerful force in existence isn't energy or matter, it's the willingness to trust something greater than yourself. And if we were to hypothetically face a common threat, Commander Zane asked carefully, what would humanity bring to such an alliance? The question Kate had been waiting for. The real reason Earth had pushed so hard for this demonstration. Intelligence reports suggested something was stirring in the dark spaces between galaxies, something that had consumed entire star systems in distant regions. The Council knew, but they hadn't wanted to share their concerns with a primitive species. We bring the one thing the universe has never seen before, Kate replied. A species that became advanced not by conquering others, but by learning to make friends with the impossible. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. Earth was not just accepted into the Galactic Defense Network. They were invited to join the Inner Council. The first species to achieve such recognition in over 10,000 years. As Kate transmitted the news back to Earth, she could almost hear the celebrations beginning across 100 worlds. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through the simple revolutionary act of treating the universe as a partner rather than an enemy. 6 months after humanity's dramatic entrance into the Galactic Council, the first reports began arriving from deep space monitoring stations. Scout ships that ventured too far into the void between galaxies were simply disappearing, not destroyed. Not captured, but erased from existence so completely that even their quantum signatures vanished from the universe. Captain Rex Martinez stood in the new Interspecies Command Center on Luna Station, studying holographic displays that showed the advancing darkness. Beside him, representatives from dozen species worked frantically to understand a threat that defied everything they thought they knew about the cosmos. The consumption rate is accelerating, reported Dr. Kira, the Nexus Prime representative whose crystalline form pulsed with urgent patterns. Entire star systems are vanishing every few days now. Whatever this force is, it's not just destroying matter, it's unmaking the very fabric of spacetime. High Arbiter Lyra's ethereal presence flickered with deep concern. Our most advanced sensors detect nothing but absolute void where the consumed systems once existed. Not even background radiation remains. It's as if those regions of space never existed at all. Rex studied the tactical displays with the same calm focus that had served him during the Fortress World demonstration. But privately, he felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's temperature controls. This was beyond anything they had prepared for, an enemy that didn't just defeat civilizations, but remove them from reality entirely. What's our current defensive capability? He asked Commander Zane of the Stellar Republic. Combined fleet strength stands at approximately 50,000 vessels, Zane replied grimly. Quantum fusion artillery has been integrated into 300 ships so far, with more being retrofitted daily. But Captain, our weapons are designed to work with the fundamental forces of the universe. This enemy appears to be negating those forces entirely. Ambassador Kate entered the command center, her expression troubled. I've just received word from Earth. Our quantum physicists have been analyzing the disappearance patterns, and they've reached a disturbing conclusion. She activated her tablet, displaying a complex mathematical model that hurt to look at directly. The consuming force isn't random, it's intelligent, and it's learning. Each system it devours teaches it more about our universe's physical laws. It's becoming more efficient with every attack. Recommendations? Rex asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. We fight, Kate said simply. Not because we can win, the probability calculations are brutally clear about our chances. We fight because that's what humans do when faced with the impossible. Hi. Arbiter Lyra's form brightened with what Rex had learned to recognize as hope. The quantum cooperation principles your species discovered, could they be applied on a galactic scale? Kate nodded slowly. Tom and Lisa have been working on something they're calling the unity field, a quantum framework that would link every conscious mind in the galaxy into a single cooperative network. Theoretically, it would allow us to treat the entire galaxy as a single organism capable of quantum-level adaptation. The risks? Commander Zane asked. Complete annihilation of individual consciousness if it fails, Kate admitted. Every mind in the galaxy would be absorbed into a collective that might not even qualify as alive by our current definitions. The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of impossible choices. Rex looked around the command center at representatives of species that had spent millennia competing, conquering, and considering themselves superior to their neighbors. Now they faced a choice between cooperation on an unprecedented scale or extinction so complete that future universes would never know they had existed. There's something else, Kate continued quietly. The unity field won't work with unwilling participants. Every conscious being in the galaxy would have to choose to trust not just their own species, but every other species, completely and without reservation. One civilization holding back, one species trying to maintain dominance within. The network and the entire framework collapses. Rex felt a smile tugging at his lips despite the dire circumstances. So you're telling me that humanity's best chance of survival depends on convincing the entire galaxy to do what we've always done, naturally work together, even when it seems impossible? Exactly, Kate confirmed. We've got approximately 72 hours before the consuming force reaches our outer defense lines. After that, we estimate 6 days until it reaches the galactic core. Rex looked out through the station's observation windows at the stars scattered across the cosmic dark. Somewhere out there, an ancient enemy was erasing entire worlds from existence. Behind him, the greatest minds in the galaxy were preparing to attempt something that had never been tried in the history of the universe. Signal all ships, he commanded. Begin implementation of the Unity Field Protocol. It's time to show the universe what happens when impossible odds meet unlimited cooperation. As the message spread across the galaxy at quantum instantaneous speeds, trillions of conscious beings faced the same choice humanity had always embraced: trust in something greater than themselves, or face the darkness alone. The battle for existence itself was about to begin.